any public school district. And our governor certainly has done many things to demonstrate that he's not in support of providing any additional funding, in spite of the fact that we have a substantial rainy day fund. As I've said, many districts are facing the same challenge. And during the COVID years, costs increase. During that same time, we took actions as a district to make sure that we were retaining the absolute best employees to serve our students, to serve our community, so that they do deliver the best education. That does come with the cost, and that's why we find ourselves here.
Can I talk about the conservatorship and how that came about? And just to frame it, the conservatorship is not a step that TEA takes lightly or often. In the past, TEA has taken conservatorship in a district because of academic failures, financial failures, or governance problems with either the school board or the administration. In this case, Socorro is graded highly on state testing for a number of years, A and B. Your financial ratings have been good. So that sort of brings the question to governance issues. What has TEA told you that is their concerns? It looks like from your agenda there have been 8 separate investigations of the district going back to 2020. So what did TEA find that made them take this pretty dramatic step?
So the current budget situation did not influence our decision to agree to the conservatorship. Let me start again. The current budget situation did not influence our decision to accept the TEA conservatorship. That being said, yes, sir, there are 8 different investigations. We won't know, the final, the findings from TEA until they issue a report. We do know that the district has had some challenges. In order to ensure that we are that we can increase, that we can improve the public's trust in us, in spite of the challenges that we're facing, what better way than to accept what TEA is proposing and make sure that we right the ship, make sure that if there are deficiencies.
In the spirit of building trust with the community, what happened? Tell the community what happened that led to this dramatic step.
Only TEA can release that information when their final report is. Until I see a final report.
What have they told you so far? What do you know?
They've offered the investigations numbers that you have seen, and that the conservatorship, and that they will issue a final report when they're ready to issue it.
So are you saying that Socorro agreed to a conservatorship without knowing what the concerns were that led to it?
Well, we understand that there are several investigations ongoing, and if TEA is proposing a conservatorship, then there must be some findings that they feel are need correction, that they feel that are critical.
Try this another way. What documents have you provided that they've requested that would give some insight into what they're looking at?
I cannot provide insight into the documents that have been provided. I mean, I assume that we provide TEA everything that they request.
Do the concerns reflect on concerns about the school board or the 2 superintendents, both? I mean, what is driving this, or who is driving this?
Who is driving it is TEA. And again, the only answer I can give you, no matter how differently you answer or ask the question, is once TEA issues the final report, we'll have a complete understanding and we'll know exactly what actions we need to take in order to start correcting any of the shortcomings, any of the gaps that TEA has identified.
So, and again, getting back to the trust issue that you raised at the beginning, why should Socorro patrons trust you right now when this dramatic step is taking and your response is, we don't know why we're taking it?
Well, because TEA is, of course, the governing body for all school districts across the state. Even in your line of work, sir, when you do something wrong, you issue a correction. We're doing no different. Apparently, TEA is telling us that we have done some things wrong, that there are gaps, and so absolutely, we're taking this, we're accepting, the consequences for what the findings are, and we're willing to move forward and correct them. Why would the community not correct us?
When anybody in this room here corrects something, we say what we got wrong.
Exactly, and as soon as TEA publishes the final report,
you don't know.
we'll be able to say the same.
What is Dr. Nate Carmen's role in all this, or what will be his role?
Well, until June 30th, when his resignation is effective, Dr. Carmen remains the superintendent of the school district.
Is there any particular, action that he should be taking regarding the situation?
Same actions that any superintendent would take.
Can you give us some examples?
I'm sorry, that would be a question for him. Other than to say, Dr. Carmen is the leader of this district. He's the professional leader of this district, and so he reports to the board. We would expect that he take the necessary steps as soon as the final report is issued to start moving us towards a corrective path for whatever's necessary.
Is there a timeline or a date that you guys expect that report?
Only TEA can answer that question.
Would you appoint an interim?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. What is a conservatorship, and how will this impact how the board of trustees interacts, how they take decisions upon students and their activities in school, and how will this impact the students and their activities?
So first and foremost, a conservatorship is not a board of managers. I want to make that clear because many of the articles that I have read is saying that TEA is taking over the district. They're not taking over the district. The board remains intact. The superintendent remains intact. We still continue to lead the district. Now, the conservator does oversee, the actions of the board and the superintendent. And if at any point the conservator feels that we are doing something incorrectly, something that would not benefit the district, the students, our community, then the conservator can take actions to correct that.
Regarding the deficit, at what point did you guys become aware that it was getting, to such a high number? Was there any way to rectify it before it reached 33 million?
Well, the budget deficit, that's for this year, and as I said, it didn't occur overnight. But certainly we're taking actions this year to try and correct it.
Who will be most impacted, as you guys make these corrections? Will it be teachers, for example?
Without knowing the exact administrative recommendations and having a clear plan, what I can tell you is that there are no recommendations at this point to eliminate positions. There are no recommendations to cut wages. If we all look at our own budget, you look at your spending, what's necessary, what are non-negotiables, and what's discretionary, where can I cut? And that's exactly the same approach, of course, on a lot larger scale. It's exactly what we're going to do.
On the conservator issue, you are responsible for paying the conservator once the TEA assigns it. At a time of deficit, how much is that going to cost you to pay the conservator?
Without having a clear plan from TEA, we don't know what the cost will be, but what I can say is absolutely the school district does pay the conservator. Considering if there are gaps that we need to correct, that's an investment in improving the operations and the delivery of service from the district.
Do you anticipate appointing an interim superintendent when Mr. Carmen finally leaves, given that there probably will be a conservator giving oversight to that role at that point?
I do anticipate, knowing that Dr. Carmen, his last day is June 30th, knowing that recruitment of a superintendent is an elongated process. I would anticipate, although the board has not discussed it, not made a decision, but I would anticipate appointing an interim superintendent.
Would you say that the superintendent is at all responsible for any of these issues?
For the TEA issues?
TEA, the budget, together?
For the TEA issue, well, for all of it altogether, the superintendent is not directly, actually, let me step back. What I can say is, until I see the final report, I don't know what the issues are. I can't say who's responsible, but I can say that Dr. Carmen is in good standing with the district. Okay.
The prior superintendent, Dr. Espinosa, do you anticipate he'll be the subject of the TDA report?
I was not on the board during the time that Dr. Espinosa left. However, once again, I don't know the contents of the final report. It is my understanding that Dr. Espinosa did leave the district in good standing as well.
At this point, do you know how, I mean, with, you guys are going to have to probably elect an interim superintendent. At this point, do you know how involved the TEA is going to be in your decision-making process the following 3 months?
So the conservator, again, just oversees the operations of the board, the operations of the district. If the conservator feels that we're making a mistake, and of course, appointment of an interim, there's qualifications, there's et cetera. So my understanding is that the conservator will continue to allow the board to operate, the superintendent and the district to operate as it should, except in the instance where we're doing something wrong. So I guess if I tried to appoint you interim superintendent, do you have, education experience? Have you ever led a district, et cetera? I would expect the conservator to jump right in and say, no, you can't do that, because that would be an unwise decision. However, if we appoint a qualified, professional, interim superintendent or superintendent for that point, then there's no reason for the conservator to jump in at that time.
We spoke with the Socorro ATF, one of the school unions. They said they do not welcome the appointment of a TA conservator and that they feel betrayed by the board who they fought so hard to elect. What will your message be to them, just because their reaction is they're extremely upset?
My reaction to any of the associations, to the community, to parents, is simply to say, listen, we're facing challenges, okay? We can continue to ignore them, we could continue to fight them, but the simple fact of the matter is, when you know that there's a possibility that you did something wrong, why would you not want to address it face first? Why would you not want the insight, the help of those who can help you correct it and address it? Same thing here, same thing in any situation where we do something wrong. We've had some challenges, let's fix them, and let's get support necessary to make those corrections.
You mentioned the board.
I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see the name.
Back to the deficit, you said it didn't happen overnight. Do you think it's necessary to pay the superintendent over $300,000, knowing that your district is losing money little by little, and still, has to be an attractive position for someone from the outside or inside to come and be a superintendent? Do you think it's necessary to pay them over $300,000?
Salaries are driven by market. The superintendent is a highly specialized and a highly educated position. It's interesting to me, and I don't know if you have kids or not, okay? But as a father, I want my kids to go to a successful school district like Socorro, obtain a solid and amazing education with all the opportunities. I want them to continue in college, for example, at UTEP, career, any technical school like Western Tech, or even military for that matter, right? And when they move on, I want them to be successful. Successful in the U.S., how do we judge that? By earnings potential, right? Why would I don't understand the question sometimes when we have a highly educated individual who is leading a multi-million-dollar budget. When you think of the salary commensurate to what the budget is and the requirements behind it, high quality in any arena comes with the cost. And for a district our size, that's what the cost is.
Back to the board of managers question, and you brought that
Sorry,
up.
sir, there's no board managers?
No.
Okay.
My question is, at any point did TEA talk to the district about the appointment of a board of managers instead of going the conservative route? For example, did they say something like, if you don't accept our conservator appointment, we will install a board of managers? Any conversations like that?
I don't know. I cannot answer the question, what would TEA do if we did not accept the conservatorship? I do know that what they recommended, what they proposed, was a conservatorship. We felt that the challenges we're facing and the support that we need was in line with accepting the conservatorship.
said they never mentioned board managers at all in your conversations.
TEA,
Yes.
the proposal was a conservatorship.
But they never said, if you don't do this, this is what we're going to do.
I personally have not spoken to TEA.
It's been through your attorneys. Is that your attorneys have had the conversations with TEA, or who's been in contact?
The attorney.
In fixing
Well, and the reason I hesitated because I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know who else has spoken to TEA, but of
But
course,
you personally
our
have
attorney, correct, and our attorney has provided us the briefings.
on the current stage you're at, do you feel like the conservatorship was the best way to go about solving all the issues the district is currently facing, or was there still some hope that maybe the board of trustees or just the district itself would have been able to address the solutions on its own?
I'm convinced that, and I want our community to be convinced as well, that once again, knowing that we're facing challenges, we don't need a solution next month, we don't need a solution next year, we don't need a solution 5 years from now, we need a solution now. The proposal was for the conservatorship, and the more immediate we can get started with that, the more immediately we can ensure that we're following the right path. So given the choice of the conservatorship, we accepted it.
This won't impact going to the deficit. There's extracurricular activities in Socorro, soccer, sports, medical programs, law programs. Will this affect trying to cut down on the budget, any of these activities?
At this particular time, there's been no recommendations to impact any, I'll sum those up as after school or maybe, there you go, yeah, extracurricular. At this particular time, there's been no recommendations to make any cuts to those particular programs. As a blanket, we'll call them extracurricular, co-curricular activities.
Can you expand a little bit more on the role of the conservator? For example, let's say you guys are having a board of trustees meeting, the recommendation is made, and that person, the conservator, doesn't agree. Are they expected to come in with a different solution, or would the board just go back and, rework the whatever issue?
Yeah, exactly how the operation is going to occur, I can't answer that question. I've never been in a conservatorship before. What I do know is probably the same thing that you do, and it's based off of what has been published on the TEA website, is that, if they feel that we are making a bad decision, a decision that does not benefit the district, then they will intervene. What that actually looks like in action, I don't know yet.
If the board, if TEA and its findings to the board cites failures by the board or individual board members, what sort of accountability should the board take for that? In other words, if this comes out, should board members named in the findings give up their seats? What would your advice be?
I can't speak for all other board members specifically, but I can tell you, if there is a deficiency, identified by me, of course it depends on the severity of the deficiency, then I would respond appropriately. And that could be anything from, if it were me, a public apology, acknowledgement, that I've made a mistake or a misstep, or if it's severe enough, I think given the right circumstances, that might be the appropriate action to take.
Resignation.
Correct. If the action is severe enough, that is the action that I would take.
You said you've never been under conservatorship. How do you feel now that you will be? What are your feelings or the board's feelings right now?
My feelings are acceptance, are confidence, are, again, when you are made aware that there is a gap, a deficiency, a shortcoming, let's face it and let's correct it. So mine is one of hope, it's one of determination, it's one of confidence. Oh, they're not there. Oh, they're right over there. Listen, the district has been recognized on several occasions. There's 2 of them right over there with those Broad Awards. Time and time again, our students, our employees, this district has been recognized over and over and over again. We can't forget those successes. Okay, yes, there are shortcomings right now, But just as we're dedicated to our community, to our students, to our employees, we're dedicated to making sure that we're operating and providing service correctly as well. So yes, it is one of confidence, it is one of hope, it is one of determination that we will come out the other side of this, and you in turn will be here just as well with as many cameras for us to allow you to tell us about our successes too.
So you mentioned the success. So do you believe all this is primarily surrounded around the financial challenges?
I don't believe that. I've already said that. The budget did not contribute to our decision to accept the conservatorship. But again, when we get the final report, we will know exactly the extent of what the investigations are and why TEA proposed the conservatorship.
Good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
I hope those questions aren't going to be that hard in Spanish because I don't know how many. Okay.
No se preocupe, va a ser 3 y ya, amigo. Carlos es el que se
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Claro, voy a cambiar la batería porque...
¿Quieres agarrar tu micrófono? Para que todos puedan agarrar.
Órale, porque sí. Pues sería este. ¿Lo van a dejar todavía el palito?
Sí, te lo dejo.
Ok.
Sí, para que no se lo quieres poner. Ahí te va. No sé cuál es, espérame.